I asked members of the public which property they would prefer to live in.
Are you in a rush? Do you have 2 seconds to answer a quick question? No problem. Excuse me, do you have 2 seconds to answer a quick question? No, right. Would I be able to ask... Right. Cheers. Could be here sometime. Would you have 2 seconds for one quick question? Just wanted to know what house people would prefer to live in out of A, B or C. Which one? B.
Yeah, that's so suburban, Jen.
That's where you kind of used to live in Stratford-upon-Avon.
Yes.
And so, now we like being in a town or a city.
Right,
Wimbledon.
okay. Fair enough. Can I just have a quick question? No, thanks. A, B or C?
B.
Both you B?
B.
Thank you. Would I be able to just ask you a question? 1 second it will take. It's just
Okay,
about
sure.
which one of these properties would you rather live in?
Ooh, probably B. B or C.
Could I just ask you a question? I'm just finding out people's opinions on which one of these 3 houses they would prefer to live in. Which one do you prefer? C.
C, yes.
Thank you. Would I be able to ask you a quick question about these houses? No. Okay. The interactions, few and far between.
B.
The answers,
have time to answer a quick question about houses. Right.
is Twickenham.
Which
A
one
lot of these people
houses
have moved from lovely country houses to be in the city. And as you can see from the flags, they're probably a bit embarrassed about being English. So I need to rethink.
And did you say C? Yeah.
Where can I go to get the voice of the honest Englishman?
B or C? Okay.
Wait,
Thank you. Thanks for stopping.
I know a bloke or two.
C.
B. A, B or C?
C.
100% C.
B.
Oh, personally, yeah, A. No, I'm only joking. C.
Definitely not A. I love these 2 properties. That's Victorian, isn't it? I'd love to live in a Victorian house. Yeah.
C. C, mate. B. C.
C without question.
C. C. Probably B.
If I had the choice out of London, somewhere nice in the country, I'd go for the Tudor.
C.
C.
Where's B?
I think that one there, a B.
C.
I think it's a C.
Yeah, C.
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 C. C.
From this wide-reaching survey, the answer seems pretty clear. But why would the majority of English builders prefer to live in a Tudor period house than anywhere else? And why do buildings like these seem both uncomfortably contrived and familiar? Long after empire, industry, and modernism, why do we still see things like this around us? In 1604, in an English common law trial known as Sir Main's case, the Attorney General, Sir Edward Coke, affirmed, "The house of every one is to him as his castle and fortress." It's a statement that comes at the end of the Tudor period, and in one form or another, we're all familiar with. It's about security, freedom, and housing. Could our enduring love for these buildings reside deep within the English psyche? The roots of Tudor-style buildings can clearly be seen in earlier centuries with the northern tribes who settled Great Britain, such as the Saxon halls and dwellings that were built out of the land's own timber, thatch and stone. Walls of wattle and daub, thatched roofs, their long, steep pitch sheltering from the elements with small windows nestled under the eaves. These weren't the imposing forts and villas of imperial Rome, but homes of agricultural people, crafted with a simplicity born of necessity. Then the Normans arrived. They were Norse men with a Latin flourish that brought a Romanesque Gothic style. This was things like columns, flying buttresses, stone keeps, spires, nested openings, and of course, the pointed arch. But they also brought with them the practice of money lending, which had been outlawed by the Anglo-Saxon kings. The majority of their contributions to architecture were in administrative and religious buildings. Anywhere that society needed administering or taxes collecting, the Normans would build. The arrival of the Normans created a lot of tension between the folk and the gentry, symbolised in English folk heroes of the time, like Robin Hood. In this quiet suburb in southwest London, this is all that remains of Twickenham Park, which was the site of the encampment of the barons. By the 13th century, the English had worn tired of Norman demands and were willing to throw their weight behind anyone who noticed. Simon de Montfort rallied resistance, firstly to hold the king to the words of Magna Carta, and secondly, to rid the land of the exploitative practice of usury. De Montfort's rebellion was ultimately unsuccessful, but Edward I couldn't ignore the implications. Eventually, in the 1400s, hardened by centuries of Norman discipline and countless wars, the English finally won their long-fought campaign for freedom. The Tudors led not with the tyranny of foreign conquerors, but with the confidence of righteous heirs. Under their protection, the English formed a fiercely loyal army. Creativity was encouraged and innovation exploded. Art, architecture, trade, exploration, and commerce flourished. Men and women had more productive lives, taxes were lighter, and land ownership broader. Historian John Guy argues that England was economically healthier, more expansive, and more optimistic under the Tudors than at any time since the Roman occupation. Tudor England hit the political stage like a brick in the face, and her enemies felt the effect. It left an indelible stamp on the soil and the people, so awesome, its influence is still felt to this day. This is Merry England, a golden age when the core needs of the English, security and liberty, were met. And as a result, they thrived. The ambience of Merry England is the canvas of English folk music. It's the land where fairy tales are set. It's during this heyday that some of the greatest English literature was penned, and when some of our most familiar idioms, phrases, and sayings were voiced.
So you know what they say, you've got to strike while the iron's hot.
Are you throwing down the gauntlet?
Well, not any old Tom, Dick and Harry can do it.
While the cat's away, the mice will play.
That's a question. Are you a cut above the rest?
Ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer.
Don't spoil the ship for Abe the Tar.
Oh, it's chapping. As mentioned before, churches and administrative buildings favoured a Gothic even today. In the Tudor times, we can add to this list places of education, manor houses, and royal palaces. These are all buildings where authority has to be respected and all employ Gothic themes. What we are primarily interested in here are the buildings Sir George Gilbert Scott rather dismissively referred to as vernacular buildings. At this point, we're going to draw a distinction between so-called vernacular architecture and the formal style today known as polite architecture. In the Tudor period, the homes of the gentry and the homes of the people were not that dissimilar. We saw familiarity across the classes, indicating a kinship. It's during the Jacobean period we start to see them drift apart. Court favourite Inigo Jones laid ample groundwork for the Continental Revolution that would grip polite architecture post-Civil War. For our golden age, the beginning of the end was 1666, when one baker, Thomas Fariner, utterly destroyed Tudor London with fire. Christopher Wren was commissioned to rebuild it, and with the so-called Glorious Revolution of 1688 and the ascension of the Dutch King William to the throne of England, a dark shadow loomed over the land. Wren's designs, coupled with the post-fire building code for London, meant the continental style dominated. Titanic stone structures with domes, porticos and columns resembled the Olympian abode of Mediterranean legend. The redesign culminated in new churches and townhouses, alongside majestic monolithic marvels like the Royal Exchange and St Paul's Cathedral. In 1694, usury, long outlawed, was written back into English life with the creation of the Bank of England. From then on, money ruled over morality, debt over land, exploitation over freedom. For many, it was the final nail in the coffin of merry old England. Where once buildings had sprung up from kinship and craft, they now bent under the weight of finance. And from the ashes of ancient oak, the world-famous capital arose. This new style was one of compasses and squares, of reason and rationality. A far cry from the wattle and daub of the past. These were buildings of power, not people. Kings were desperate to associate themselves with Greco-Roman gods and men to legitimise their right to rule the waves and fool the slaves. The Tudors traced their lineage back to the Normans, to Alfred the Great, to King Arthur, and to Brutus, the founder of Britain. The Georgian kings traced theirs to the gods themselves. Their architects preferred the Flemish bond, the Dutch gable, the Italian frieze, the Greek column. The style was grandiose, impressive, imposing, sophisticated. Its artisans were educated in philosophy and in classical theories and used modern tools that could measure precisely and so raise the grandest, most perfect buildings. But still, they rarely comforted. In the city, foreign plasterers made real the aristocrat's dream of lavish festivities with Pan and Saturn. While in the shires, pargeters scratched their plaster with old English folk figures. The cities became reverberant and hard to the touch, their parks too precise, their roads too regular, and slowly they filled with desperate wanderers, lost souls choking and crowded among the dark mills of industrialisation. This land of such dear souls, this dear, dear land, dear for her reputation through the world, is now leased out. I die pronouncing it, like to a tenement or pelting farm. England, bound in with the triumphant sea, whose rocky shore beats back the envious siege of watery Neptune, is now bound in with shame, with inky blots and rotten parchment bonds. That England, that was wont to conquer others, hath made a shameful conquest of itself.
Rural people were swept up in the rush of industrialisation. Their fens were drained, their commons enclosed. Some compassionate industrialists recognised the inhumanity, that workers needed a semblance of comfort in order to be productive. Model villages were created to house the workers and provide them with a life akin to the one they'd been torn from. One of the first, Milton Abbas, was commissioned by Lord Milton, who felt that the village of Middleton spoiled his rural vista. Sir William Chambers and Capability Brown designed the new village in the romantic folk style, using cob and thatch.
Soon, others followed. In intellectual circles, English socialists rued the loss of folk nature. The arts and craft movement sought to not just revive, but also protect the crafts of the English that formed the occupations of so many pre-industrialisation rural people. The Green Man re-emerged to remind us who we are and where we came from. English folklore and mythology underwent a reappraisal and revival, with renewed interest in the fae or fairy folk and figures like King Arthur and Robin Hood, symbolic representatives in the psyche of security, freedom, nature, and imagination.
The model village inspired a group of intellectuals to create the first privately funded garden suburb, Bedford Park, in Chiswick, West London. Like much of the Victorian era, the style was borrowed, either piecemeal or wholesale, but the Tudor influence is obvious.
For example, this block of 7 gables, built in 1880 by Norman Shaw for the Bedford Park community, featured a public house, the Tabard, and a cooperative shop. It's quite clearly based on the Staple Inn at Holborn, which famously adorned the packet of old Holborn smoking tobacco. Although George Gilbert Scott, who spearheaded the Victorian Gothic revival, had tried to turn his fellows away from the vernacular style, Garden Suburbs willfully incorporated many of our now familiar features. Inspired by the model village and the garden suburb, the garden city movement wholly embraced the traditional, the simplicity and rustic charm providing a calming effect for those newly liberated from the smog of the dark Victorian cities. And as the slums were torn down, new family houses were built on the outskirts of the cities, until soon, immaculate conurbations spread in every direction, each invoking the spirit of Merry England. A Tudor revival was well underway. Black and white gables became the symbol of suburbia. Along with tiled roofs, dark brick, tiled and rendered walls, oriel and bay windows, diamonds, diapers and picket fences, Tudor-style buildings lined roads and carriageways that led to clubhouses for tennis, golf and bowls, village halls, pubs and shopping corners with a quaint, rustic, comfy appeal. Post-World War II, a general disdain for nationhood led to the multicultural experiment and the rise of the tower block. Concrete and glass know no people, their materials devoid of loyalty. Isolatory, grey, stateless. Perfect for the drudgery of global capitalism, where people are nothing more than commodities, interchangeable parts to be relocated wherever labour's needed. Yet still, pubs, social clubs, housing estates, and more recently out-of-town supermarkets carry remnants of our gilded age, reminding us, like the wolf's howl reminds the golden retriever of the thrill of the wild. So even something like this strip mall, American-style shopping centre at the edge of a council estate has got lots of these Tudor elements. We've got the gable ends, we've got dormer roofs inside the main roof, we've got the long run of roof, like a tiled run. In some places this is extended with the glass to continue the roof line, so you get the effect of the roof line. Then we've got these, although they're made of coloured aluminium pieces, they're actually emulating cross beams of the timber structures of a building. We've got the 1 metre up brick course with a sort of curb, and then the lighter coloured bit on top. And then all the way over here we can see these things that have just been added on just purely for aesthetics. There's no practical reason to have these on there. And they are diagonal beams meant to emulate the timber beamwork of the Tudor building. Of all of these, the English pub has retained many of the traditional features we are discussing. Pubs, in their former lives as coaching houses, taverns and inns, have served the people of the land for well over 1,000 years, and as a result, their welcoming facades, and in some cases their fixtures and fittings, have remained frozen in time. An essential part of the cultural life of the English. They didn't need to be fashionable. They just needed to provide a cosy, safe haven for the traveller, the labourer and the rogue. And again, in recent times, we've seen major supermarket chains such as Tesco's and Sainsbury's buy up and convert our old pubs into shops, probably aware that the English can't resist the ancient allure of these buildings. So, with that little distraction out of the way, our central question still remains. Do these buildings speak to something deep inside of us? In psychology, there's an idea, a supernormal stimulus. A form so exaggerated, it provokes a stronger instinctive response than the thing it imitates. It's the chick that prefers a brighter artificial beak than its own mother's. It's the moth drawn to the bulb. For humans, it's fast food, shoulder pads, and pornography. These larger-than-life forms reach deep inside the mind. They bypass reason and speak directly to the unconscious, to the ancestral. What I'm proposing here is that the vernacular building style works in the same way. A long pitched roof, a gable, a lattice window, even in imitation, even in pastiche. These fragments stir a memory older than we can name. They speak to us of shelter, kin, and hearth. They are the nest, perfected. The Tudor building is the exaggerated mental picture of the ideal English nest, but even one or two features will suffice. A bay window, a tile-hung front, a roughly rendered panel or two. In the Tudor period, the English felt secure, liberated, at their most potent, unshackled from the exploitation of debt, free from dogmatic religion and centralised control. They could pursue their dreams and fulfil their natural purpose. The concept of freedom is exclusively English. Others are welcome to read the books and adopt the laws, but somewhere in the soul of the English it innately sits. It can't be explained any easier than a goldfish can explain water. We know what it isn't. It isn't the freedom to buy what one wants. It isn't the freedom to love whoever one desires. It isn't freedom of movement, and it isn't freedom of association. It's cultural. It's ethnic. You have to be it to know it. We, No, freedom can't exist without security. And without strong defences, one can't feel secure. An Englishman's home is, after all, his castle. And no period in English history ever embodied freedom quite like the Tudor period did. This, I believe, is why they built the loveliest nests. We can now re-examine Sir Edward Coke's statement from the beginning of this film in a new light. And there are numerous historical quotes that support this assertion. Ultimately, buildings resemble the Tudor style more than they don't, and the continental styles, each time funded with the ill-gotten wealth of outsiders, have only ever been a blip in a continuous lineage dating back millennia. It's a style as impenetrable as the spirit of the English, who, besieged by degeneration, still strive to unite with nature. It survives because it comforts. Even a hint is enough to make an English heart leap. So, to summarise, I think it's time we defined our own nesting style. The word vernacular suggests the servitude of the people who built the houses, implying low status from the perspective of the architect or scholar. But this style, like the English themselves, is neither servile nor Latin. I propose from herein this style is known as English building craft. It describes perfectly the art and skill of shaping dwellings and works from the land itself, raised by the hands of folk in accord with place, kin and tradition. Craft born of earth, timber and time, carried forward through custom rather than decree. Our love for English building craft is not nostalgia, it's instinct. It's not style, it's a way of life. The English nest endures.